right, opening statements. It's game week. It's here. A little different feel around the place. A little different feel for me and the coaches. A little bit, as much as you don't want it to be, it's a little bit more sense of urgency around the building because, it's right around the corner. So very excited to get underway to see some of these guys, especially some of the new ones that I think are going to play a pretty good bit. Very excited to see those guys get out there and start playing against people other than their buddies. So should be a lot of fun. Thursday night game here, so should have a pretty good crowd of students and things like that, which is always fun. So looking forward to rocking and rolling.
Obviously, the biggest question coming into the season was at the quarterback spot. Just talk about your decision to pick Schuler and what made him stand out among the six.
He was just more productive, took care of the football. He's a guy that's, he's from a size standpoint, he's not overly big. He doesn't have, above average arm talent or anything like that. He's just a smart player that's not going to hurt you. He's not going to turn the ball over. I think that was the biggest thing going. If you look at him holistically from spring ball all the way through fall camp, the number of turnovers or lack thereof was really and truly what stuck out to us. We could move the football with the offense, and he was going to take care of the football and not get us beat. And I think that's what stuck out the most. It's the reason why we went with that decision right now for week one. But obviously anybody who knows me knows that especially at that position, it will be open-ended. We're always going to evaluate that position. So it's not like he has arrived by any means. He's still got to go out there and have good days of practice, because I've said from the get-go the best thing about that position is I've got 6 guys in that room and all 6 of them can play. So you can't really afford right now at that position to go out and have a bad day, because I've got another guy who I'll put in right behind you, we won't think twice about it.
Running back, DJ Pinnick, he was at the top of the depth chart last week when you released your opening point. What did he do to win that job?
He's an explosive runner. He's a tough kid. He is a freshman, so there's still some things that we have to go through just from a vision standpoint that he's not used to. But man, he's very polished, and he's picked up on the system really, really fast. He's had a really, really good camp. And obviously the big challenge there is just making sure, because he is a freshman. Even if you saw the kid walk into the room, you wouldn't think he was a freshman. I mean, he's built. He's a decent sized kid and all that, but when you're that young, this game can take a toll on your body. So the biggest challenge that we have at that spot is making sure that we don't beat him to death too quickly. And it's still, even at that position with some things that have happened, I'm still pretty deep at that position. I still feel comfortable at that position with what we did in recruiting this past year. So hopefully that will help limit some of the banging on him.
Talk about Schuler's IQ kind of in the pocket. How much does him coming from a bigger school like Old Dominion factor into maybe his IQ playing against better talent practice?
None really. I mean, it doesn't matter if you play middle school ball or college ball. The field's still the same size. It's still the same width and the same length. Really and truly, we all do the same thing. Run game's pretty much the same. People run some zone schemes and they run some gap schemes, and people run some verticals, and then they got a little vertical outcome. Everybody does the same stuff. I think his IQ came from he's a coach's son. His daddy's the running backs coach at South Carolina. He's been around the game, and it's just he's a football nut. He's a junkie. I mean, he watches it all the time. He learns. He wants to learn situations. He wants to talk about situations. He's always grown up living in football. That's what he knows, and I think that's where his IQ comes from. Is the fact that he's been doing it all his life, or at least been around it all his life.
How healthy is a guy like Nick Collins right now?
He's healthy. Yeah. He's. I will say, knock on wood, This has been one of the best years from a injury standpoint that I can remember. Going into week 1, the guys that were limited going into camp are now back. They're full go. Everybody's been cleared. We've been able to keep all the healthy ones relatively healthy. I mean, it's football. You're always going to have bumps and bruises and things like that, but from a health standpoint, we're pretty good right now.
You were really young last year, and despite that, you managed to beat a couple of ranked teams. Do you expect to be able to take a big step forward this season?
My expectation is this, and we talked about this as a football team going into fall camp, going into to media days and things like that. My expectation is for this team to come out every day with a great focus of what we have to do each day to get better, and that's what we're focused on. What our record looks like, where we're ranked, where we're going to be ranked, all of those things doesn't matter to us. We're just more focused on the day-to-day, hey, what do we have to do in this particular drill at practice? What do we have to do from a whole practice standpoint on a Tuesday, on a Wednesday, to get better? And I think that these guys have done a really good job of that. We've tried to eliminate all the external factors that we can, whether it's expectations, whether it's who's young, who's old, who's starting, who's not starting, and just really focus on what our task at hand is. What is your job at your particular position? And I think if we can do that, then all of those other things will fall into place. And I'm really excited because I think this team has done a really good job so far, focusing, making the thing the thing.
You talked already about the running backs, especially DJ. Given what happened this past week, did that affect any game plans going into that first game?
Yeah, I mean, just from a rep count, and it didn't affect us too much schematically. I mean, we were going to do the same thing regardless, but just from a rep count and obviously a workload standpoint and things like that, it affects you. It's what we talk about all the time. We have a saying around here: "Throw your rock," and we preach a lot about accountability and those things, and everybody, myself, these coaches, all of these guys, these players, they're all accountable for one another. When you leave this building and when you're in this building and when you're at practice, when you're away from practice, we're all accountable for one another. And when something happens, then it's going to affect everybody, and it did. But we'll make our adjustments and we'll move forward, and we'll be just fine.
Talked about line depth when you first got here, something you really need to increase.
Yeah.
Better last year. Looks like it's better this year. What on both sides of the ball?
Yeah.
What's your thoughts?
Yeah, we really made a point in recruiting for that, just trying to just get better competitive depth at every position, especially up front on both lines of scrimmages. And I think we've done that. We can legitimately go out there and run 3 groups, 1s, 2s, and 3s, and we can do that at every position. And where that helps is the reason why we wanted to make such an emphasis on that is I've always thought that, in years past, I've always said that our 1 through 40 on the roster were probably as good as everybody else's. If not, sometimes they were better. We've had really good players around here. It was just when we started getting into some of our sub packages and injuries took its toll and things like that. That's where we were lacking. And so we really tried to boost the back end of our roster this year. And it's not going to happen overnight. Anytime you try to do that, it's not going to happen overnight. I do think that we made bigger strides faster than I thought we were going to in recruiting because it's like I was saying, right now you can't afford as a player to go out there and just not feel good and go through practice going through the motions because we've got a lot of new talent, young talent that's behind all of these guys that are pushing them at pretty much every position. And we're not afraid. We're finally, as coaches, not afraid to make that swap. Whereas in years past, you bring that particular player in and you're going, hey, now I'll put the next guy in there, and that player's looking at you going, no, you won't, coach. You don't have a guy that can do what I do. And we're finally to that point at pretty much every position. So that's very encouraging as a coach, because now our practices are better, the competition's better, on our team, the inter-team competition is better, and if that's better, you're going to be better as a whole football team.
Will we see Zach Wade on Thursday at all?
I don't know. He's still. If you asked him, he'd look at you like that was a dumb question and go, yeah, of course. But he's still got a little bit of healing to do in that hand. Just if I don't have to get it knocked around a little bit, then obviously I won't. But if Fulton comes in and says, hey, it's not going to matter, if he plays or doesn't, then we'll put him out there. But he's still kind of day-to-day. We're keeping him in shape. He's going through the motion. He was in a red jersey yesterday, so we're trying to keep all the contact off of him. But I would imagine he's going to do his best to try to get in there Thursday, no matter what Fulton says. So we'll see. We'll play it by ear.
I saw you posted a picture on Twitter this morning about some players taking
Yeah.
tests.
Yeah.
Can you talk about getting you guys to buy into the community and reaching out like that instead of obviously people see him on the football field, but
Yeah.
outside of the community, helping like that?
I'll be honest with you, it was easy, man. These guys, they get excited about that. We took the defense this morning. We'll take the offense tomorrow morning and do a separate set of schools. And it's really pretty easy, we just told them what we wanted to do, and they kind of love it, man. They're high-fiving kids. They're helping them get out of their cars. I'll be honest with you, I messed up because I told my wife she was going to have to take my daughter to school this morning because I had some other obligations, and I didn't realize that my obligation was at my daughter's school this morning. So she pulled up, and I was sitting out there waving to my wife and my daughter. So I'm in some hot water tonight when I get home, but the kids loved it. It was a fun time. They wore their jerseys out there, and it wasn't nothing crazy. We just got them out of their cars and wished them a good day and high-fived them and things like that, and we had a lot of fun. So, and it'll be fun tomorrow. We'll do it with the offensive group tomorrow.
Opening against a team from the lower division, have you been able to look ahead to the game against Central Arkansas?
No. We'll put all of our focus. This is the biggest game that we have this year, just because it's the only one that we're going to play right now. So we're focused on nothing but Kentucky Wesleyan, and they're a good opponent now. I don't know if y'all realize, but that wide receiver they had last year, he almost set a preseason record with a 98-yard touchdown reception the other night for the Jaguars. Until an hour later, somebody had a 99-yard reception, I think, for a touchdown. So, if you start looking ahead, it doesn't matter who you play. The laws of competition, they say that if you start looking ahead, any team's able to beat any team. It doesn't matter what division you come from. So we're going to put all of our focus into this team and make sure that we can come out victorious Thursday.
Speaking of wide receivers, Jared Beard plays for KWC now. You guys faced him last year at Austin Peay.
Yeah.
He's the kind of guy you guys might have a game plan for.
Yeah. They've got a couple of weapons offensively. They do some things defensively that present a problem. They move around a lot defensively that makes it hard to identify some things from a front standpoint. They do a really good job. Those guys over there do a really good job getting those guys prepared and coming up with a good game plan. But obviously, me and Holtzclaw, he asked me about that particular kid a couple of months ago because he had come on the market and things like that, and I told him he shouldn't take him. I told him, "Nah, you don't want him. Don't take him," because I knew we'd have to face him. But he does a good job, man. He does a really good job over there evaluating talent and getting good talent on their football team and putting a really good plan together.
Also, from a wideout perspective, you're too deep right now. You got Jonathan in the two, and then Rodney and Sylvan had good full camps. Tyree as well. How comfortable are you with the wideout position right now?
Pretty comfortable. As comfortable as I've ever been. Again, from a depth standpoint, our wide receiver position's a little bit different. We have 1As and 1Bs, and then we have 2s, so we have to kind of be 3 deep at every spot. Just because those guys, we're gonna be very spread and wide open and try to play in space, which gets those guys a little bit more fatigued faster. you know, I feel very, very comfortable with where we're at from a depth standpoint. Now, some of these guys, like a Rodney Castile, like a Sylvan Turner, they've never done it with the lights on, you know. So Thursday night, we'll see if their practice and how they compete in practice can carry over when the lights come on and it's a real game. So, you know, we'll just have to wait and see.
Talk about being too deep in the wideout. You're also too deep in the secondary. How big is that?
Yeah.
Being able to just run the guys in and out if you need to.
Yeah, you know, I think the biggest thing from a depth standpoint is what ultimately what we set out to do from a recruiting standpoint is we tried to make sure that some of these guys that y'all have named, you know, a guy like Gandy, a guy like Zach Wade, a guy like D Wade, Lamont Crittenden, some of these guys that are going to take a lot of snaps offensively and defensively. If you can get good talent and good guys to come in on your special teams plays where you're not, you don't want to hurt the integrity of your special teams. I'm talking about legitimate guys that can go down there and cover kicks, return kicks, and things like that. And you can take those extra 20 to 35 snaps a game off of some of these key role guys. I think that's where you can improve because now your legs, it takes a lot longer during the season for your legs to get tired, which means you don't have to get into changing your practice plans as quickly. And you can kind of go about your normal routine for a lot longer during the season because everybody stays a little bit fresher. And I'm hoping that we can kind of see the fruits of those labors from a recruiting standpoint in the way that we've tried to build this team this year.